Hi, Pam Clark here today, and today I'm going to share with you a really fast technique on how to do cross-hatching without using a ruler by placing your quilt top on the diagonal on the quilting frame. And we're going to be working on not really something like this back here. These are orphan blocks. So a lot of times what I do, because I love applique, but when I load them on my quilt and I want to do cross-hatching behind it, I have to stop and go at every one of those things. So this is a technique that actually going to do the cross-hatching first, and then you're going to put your applique on top, and then you're going to quilt on top of that applique. Now this is something you wouldn't want to, put into a juried show, but is acceptable in a viewer's choice. So let me go ahead and get started, and I'll show you step by step how to do this, and then I'll take some close-ups of the machine quilting that I did using a lot of the designs out of my Background in Designs sketchbook. So let's go ahead and get started. So let me show you how to get your quilt ready when you want to do your diagonal cross-hatching. And I'm not really fond of using the rulers, but there are, in some instances, I really do need to use it. When I'm doing cross-hatching though, especially this is the 30-inch piece of fabric I have here. And what I did is I went a diagonal line across, all the way across this way. And I'm using a washable marker that way and then this way, like that. All right, because this is going to be your guide when we go to do using the 1-inch line stencils or the 2 or the 1.5. It just really depends on what size your cross-hatching you want to have. And this keeps it nice and straight. I'm using the 1-inch line stencil. This is the 1-inch by 14 inches. But again, like I told you, it really depends on what size you like your cross-hatching. And so what I like to do is I do like my cross-hatching a little bit small. But you can see how I've lined it up on that line all the way there. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to chalk it so you can see, and you're going to work your way up that area and then across the quilt this way and around all the way down in here. As you can see, I've already started marking. I've marked all the way across there. And now I'm getting ready to do this corner right here. And I do use the pounce pad. Again, remember, it's very important to make sure you have this big crosshair through your quilt like this, right there, because that's what's going to keep all your lines nice and straight. You also want to make sure that you line up this stencil, even if you might have got this a little bit crooked, which you shouldn't as long as you have these lines in here. But you do want to make sure that you line these up right in this one like that. All right, and again, straight on that one, you're just going to work your way across the quilt. And then I'm going to take it and I'm going to do it the diagonal way to get my squares. So all my lines are marked going in this direction right there. Now I've turned the stencil because this is going to give me my guideline for the squares. All right, so I turned it. I'm going to do the same thing as I did with those lines, but now I'm going to do the cross-hatching ones right here. So as you can see, I've marked all my cross-hatching. It's already marked across. And then what you need to do to get your backing or your lining ready is you're going to measure across this. And mine measures about 41 inches. So this is a 30-inch piece of fabric, and it measures 41 across. So I'm going to cut my lining up the width of the fabric plus about 5 or 6 extra inches for loading. And you're going to cut your batting about 30, I would say 34, 33 or 34 inches bigger. All right, it's got to be a little bit larger than this piece here. All right, as you can see, I've already unloaded my backing or my lining to my quilting machine. And then what I did is I cut my batting a little bit larger than my quilt top size. So then I'm going to lay it at a diagonal like so. All right. And then I'm going to show you in just a second how to make sure that your lines are going to be straight. All right, as you can see how I've loaded my quilt on here on the diagonal. And the best way that I found to make sure that it's really lined up straight is I actually use my horizontal channel lock. If you don't have a channel lock, you can clamp your wheels on your carriage to go horizontal. So what I do is I take it and I've got my horizontal on and it can't move anywhere. So I move the machine like this, trying to keep an eye on the needle. And if it's crooked at all, then I adjust the quilt. So once that's done, now I know that my lines are going to be straight. So I've locked my wheels with my horizontal lock. And so what I'm going to do is now just go ahead and start sewing. I've already brought my thread up. Another thing you can do is you can actually spray baste your backing or your top to your batting, and that's going to stay, so it's going to stay nice and flat. But remember, you don't want to do that until after you line up your straight lines all the way through here. So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to just go all the way across. Let me move the camera so you can see what I'm doing. And my machine works really well going in both directions. So when I want to come back, I do have to take the horizontal off, and I'm going to move it up to this one, like so, and put the channel lock back on, and then I just go in that direction, as you can see. Now, if you don't have a channel lock, if you've loaded the quilt straight, all right, you can even use a level. I just find if I take it and move the machine across, because your machine is set on rails that are straight. So if you can even do like a one finger. So I'm going to take my horizontal off, all right? And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take it up to here. I'm still going to lock my stitches a little bit. And I'm only going to be using one finger. So let me show you, like up here, I'm just going to move the machine like this. I'm going to turn it on, and I am in stitch regulator because I find if I'm doing cross hatching, I really need to be in stitch regulator because I tend to want to move the machine a little bit faster. So I'm just going to take that, turn it on, and just one finger, all right? And you're going to go all the way across. So either way is going to work just fine. All the way across. And you're going to lock your stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and continue, and I'm going to quilt all my horizontal lines all the way across the quilt. All right, and when we get to where we're going to be doing the cross hatching, I'll show you what I do. So let me go ahead and get this finished, and then I'll be back with you in just a few minutes. All right, so as you can see, all my cross hatching is done the horizontal way. There's a couple different ways you can do this. You can either take the quilt off and rotate it, and reload it, and then you're just going to have the horizontal lines going in the opposite directions to give you that cross-hatching look. Or if you decide that if you want to, you could start, you could come this way with it, okay, so a vertical, but the problem is you always want to make sure that you're going to, like in an intersection, like right in here, all right? And then, of course, then when you get there, you got to make sure that you're going to line up exactly where that is again. So if it's just a really small project that you're working on, then it would be okay to go ahead and go that way. But I would really recommend that you just take the quilt off, rotate it, and then it's going to be so much easier because it's going to be straight again. I've rotated the quilt now, and then I double checked again to make sure that I line everything up nice and straight. On my zipper leaders, I have these little lines right there. So I know that this line right here should match that one, and again at the bottom. All right, so make sure, this is very important that that stays straight. And the same thing you can do is do your channel lock or lock your wheels, all right, and then put it across here again and make sure that you've lined it up nice and straight on one of those lines. So I finished all of the cross hatching. It came out really nice. Now this is where you have a choice to make. Since I use chalk on here, I'm probably going to wash it first before I put my applique on top of it. But either way, you can put the applique on top and then wash the whole quilt after you bound it. Or you can do what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all the chalk, and then I can just put my applique on top of it. Another thing I didn't talk about is you want to use a pretty busy backing back there, especially if you're going to be putting your applique on top of it, and you can either stitch it down with your home machine or on the long arm. I've washed the quilt top, And I don't put my quilts in the dryer, but it's a personal choice. You can put yours in the dryer if you want to. But you can see as all the chalk is off. I did forget to tell you though that what I did is I sprayed the whole little quilt top with this product called So Clean. It works great, but really just soap and water will do it, or detergent and water will do it. So now I'm going to get ready to put my applique pieces on. And these are old orphan blocks I've had laying around. You can piece them by yourself, but hopefully this will get you a good idea. What I don't like is I really don't like having to stop when I'm doing my cross hatching at all my appliques. So that's why this is a really fun trick to do. And you have to be aware of this, is that if you're going to have this in a juried show, it will be taken out. All right, so you only want to do this for your own personal use, or maybe your quilt guild that it's a viewer's choice. I decided to go ahead and put my applique on top, and then I went to my home machine and did a blanket stitch around every one of those. It's just a personal preference. You decide what you want to do. These are all orphan blocks. These are things that I've just had laying around the house from leftover projects and classes that I've taught. I'm going to show you right here. I did not do any machine quilting on them yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load this little sample up again on my long arm, and I'm going to do some free motion quilting. And a lot of these designs that I'm going to be doing, you're going to find they're out of my background designs and shapes sketchbook. Now, of course, these are my orphan blocks, but maybe you have some other ones from leftover projects that you might want to use. These are just some Dresden plates I had left over. I actually did a blanket stitch. I took it to my home machine and did a blanket stitch around it. So that blanket stitch is done on my home machine, but the pebbles are done on the long arm. So I go ahead and load it back up. This is before the binding's put on. And then I just did some little wavy lines outside of there. And then down here, you're going to see some leaf designs. And what I do on my stems, there's another little feather. This one, I'm not sure if you can see too well, probably in here. There's another feather. This one, I just did scallops all the way out. I'm trying to get some light in here. Hold on. There we go. All right, so I did scallops on the outside of that. And then I believe I just did some wavy cross-hatching in the center. And this one, I just did loops, but really any applique project that you have unfinished, you can put that on there. I make lots of table runners this way. Sometimes I'll do my placemats this way. That way there that I'm not stopping and going. So if you notice, it's all my cross hatching is going behind the applique because I've already stitched on it. So let me see if I can show you the back. You're going to see like there. All right, I hope you like this tutorial, and stay tuned because I'm going to be doing one on the curvy square. And thank you for taking the time to view this.